One overall pick, Fernando Mendoza, who's been getting reps aplenty in camp. He's going to get some more tonight against the Texans. He went 10 of 16 last week for 97 yards and a touchdown in his preseason debut against the Cardinals. Jordan Rogers joining us now. We've got a full house here on First Take, but Shefty, I want to start with you because Clint Kubiak has been adamant. This is Kirk Cousins' job to lose. In the context of that, what is the Raiders' plan going to be for bringing Fernando Mendoza along and when they might want to make that switch?
Well, they gave Fernando Mendoza more reps this week with the ones, and that was partly to give Kirk Cousins a little rest as an aging player, 38 years old, and partly to give Fernando Mendoza more reps and more work as a young, upcoming, ascending player. So it works for both sides to give him more work with the ones. But it also leads us to wonder, okay, well, when is Fernando Mendoza's time coming? And all I can tell you is that the plan is still to start Kirk Cousins on opening day. We also know that each of the last 6 quarterbacks who were selected number 1 overall started in their first game on opening day. That's the way it usually goes. The Raiders, I think, are going to buck that trend. And I do think that Kirk Cousins is going to start against the Miami Dolphins. But who knows how that's going to last? That's on Kirk Cousins. If Kirk Cousins plays well and they're winning, he'll keep being the quarterback. If they lose that home opener against the Dolphins, you could already hear the calls in the stadium for Fernando Mendoza right then and there. So it's coming. The question is, how long will Kirk Cousins be able to stave it off?
Yeah. I don't want to overreact, Jordan, to preseason games.
I do.
You do? Okay, because I think
sometimes.
Like now?
Like now.
I don't think there's anything that Fernando Mendoza can do tonight that's going to lead you to believe that it's going to be any different than what Shefty just pointed out, that Kirk Cousins will start week 1, and then we'll see. But as a former quarterback, walk me through this process with what you are actually looking for from a young player in the preseason. What do you need to see from him tonight against this Texans defense to know that he's making the right strides?
Yeah, I mean, to your point, I could care less about stats. I could care less about big plays. What I'm watching is process. When you watch Fernando Mendoza, in the small sample size that we had, his decision-making was laser fast. Doing things that he wasn't asked to do in college, under center, play action, coming up one hitch, hitting it in between 3 different defenders. His eyes were always moving through reads rapidly. And that's what I watch, because when you talk about playing a young quarterback, the concern is, are we going to ruin him if we play him too early on not a good team? And you start to think about Sam Darnold saying, I'm seeing ghosts. You know what seeing ghosts means? It means as a quarterback, you don't know where your eyes should go next. And when you aren't seeing 1 or 2 defenders and you're seeing all 11 or 15 people in front of you, you see nothing. And that's when you start to see flashes that aren't really there. And that's what seeing ghosts means. So when I evaluate Mendoza, I see a guy that knows where his eyes should go next, knows where the ball should go, knows what read is next, knows how to get it out of his hands. And to me, that tells me you can put him out there and he's not going to ruin himself because he is ready for that moment. Now, you always want to sit a guy, but I'm telling you the timeline is going to continue to increase or ramp up if we see what we saw last week out of Mendoza tonight.
Wait, just one quick thing on this.
Yeah.
So you watched him every game at Indiana, obviously in Cal before that, covering college football. I'm hearing this before I even give a take on this, that you think he's made significant improvements since the end of last year into this year already.
Yeah, and also because he's doing things that he wasn't asked to do. He was never under center in Indiana. So, and that's difficult coming from a guy, actually, I was under center almost my entire career. There is nuance to it. You turn your back to the defense. You have to understand who your eyes are on when you whip your head around. So, yes, I think he's better now even than he was at the end of the season in Indiana and further ahead than I thought he would be.
They also want him, though, to see some of the things that Kirk Cousins is doing on the field. Like in the first preseason game, there was one play where Kirk audibled at the line, got out of a certain play call when the defense shifted, and they wanted Fernando to be able to go over that in the meetings and see this is what a veteran does. So he's learning from Kirk Cousins. He's learning from Clint Kubiak. They're just bringing him along, feeding him every single day, and he's eating it up because that's the kind of guy he is, and they do love him as a guy. He is beloved already in that organization.
I would love to interview him every day. He is so fun at the podium. He's insightful. He looks like he enjoys it. But I mean this in the most respectful way possible. Kirk Cousins is one of the best game managers currently playing in the NFL. Myron, if Fernando Mendoza can do what Adam just said, like learn about that moment. How did Kirk audible at the line? What did he see? How did he kill the play? Do all of those things, then that, with the processing and everything else, feels like the path for him to get on the field quicker.
Yeah, I mean, he can learn from Kirk Cousins in multiple ways, right? I mean, he can learn from him watching him on the field. He can also learn from him as a mentor. I think to Jordan's point, if you tell me that Fernando Mendoza is the game manager that we saw at Indiana, the guy we saw in the preseason game, and I think here's the key. You've got a bunch of young pieces on that Raiders team. You're talking about chemistry, not just this year, but in the years ahead. So if you get a head start on developing that bond with this group of young guys, maybe that gives you more reason to start Fernando Mendoza at some point this season.
I think the Raiders should have a clear-cut path as to what a dream scenario is. That Kirk Cousins is good enough to hold off Mendoza, and the team is bad enough to get Jeremiah Smith out of Ohio State. That's the path. I know there's a bunch of Michigan men running that team, but they have to take an Ohio State guy as the best wide receiver in the be Kirk Cousins good enough to hold off Mendoza, and I'm saying 17 games, and the team is bad enough to get Jeremiah Smith. It's not about this year.
But if they're bad enough to get Smith, that fan base is going to be rabid to get Mendoza out there. That's the problem. Like, if you win a little bit or you're just okay, you buy some patience. If not, patience is going to run out really quickly. Here's the thing.
Yeah.
You cannot get better as a young quarterback not playing. Now, on the other hand, sitting and learning is valuable. It helps you get ready to play. But you cannot be a good player without playing. So if he's ready to play, it shouldn't matter what the record is. Shouldn't matter how well Kirk Cousins is playing. As soon as Mendoza and that coaching staff feels he's ready, put him on the field.
I would just add, this is the secret weapon they have that no one else has. They have the greatest of all time. One press conference all year, Tom Brady sits up there and says, I know the fans want to see Mendoza. They will. I never played my first year. He's not playing this year. We're waiting. Next.
Won't happen that way.
Okay,
It's great for teams to say that. All those teams that started quarterbacks on day one, they all said, we're going to be patient. We're not going to rush them. And then on opening day, the guys started.
So there is no plan, Adam. Then that's not a plan. That's just a reaction to
No, they have a plan. It's just that, the calls for the number 1 overall pick will get a lot louder, like
People
the
have plans,
meme of like
and
the
plans
saxophones
change.
getting louder.
Yes, sure.
That'll everybody has a plan.
We needed additional confirmation, but Adam is one source in essence, and he just told you he's the other source, A.J. Brown. I mean, he's confirming everything.
That was the surprising thing, right? Like, everybody suspected it, everybody thought it, but he just said, yeah.
That was confirmation.
It was affirmation of everything that everybody speculated on.
And so when we retroactively look back at last year's Eagles team, there's no debate as to whether or not things went wrong. They went wrong. There's also the confirmation it went wrong. And it's also a question around the head coach, who I've been extremely supportive of. I think his record speaks for itself in Sirianni. But the job of a head coach, I would assume, is to step in and find a way when two important parties like that are not on the same page to at least have a working relationship that is productive. And I think they actually did something interesting. I think they overcompensated. If you look back at the peak of when they were beefing last year, Jalen started throwing him the ball more. And I thought he forced it to him at times to say, hey, look, we're okay. Well, you're not okay. We know you're not okay. And I'm a huge Jalen Hurts guy, but it wasn't okay. AJ confirmed that.
And it's evident that A.J. Brown didn't want to be there. But let's talk about the guy in question here, Jalen Hurts. Like, if Jalen Hurts wanted him there, he could have made sure that A.J. Brown stayed. How do you view Jalen in all of this, knowing that we haven't heard from him and his side yet?
Sometimes the divorce has to happen. And I think Jalen Hurts is in favor of that. I think if he had made the plea and said, listen, you got to keep this guy in town, I think the Eagles would say, fine, let's make a way for it to happen. But last year, every time we talked about A.J. Brown, it was about distractions. It was about things that were happening away from the field, where him and Saquon Barkley bonding with A.J. Brown when they figuring out why he was upset or disgruntled. It felt like that became the thing. I don't know if that hurt the production, but the team wasn't as good. And when you're struggling and you're having to deal with this other storyline, that doesn't help you as a franchise. I think if you're Jalen Hurts, you feel like addition by subtraction. Even though you lose a big target, you also lose a bigger distraction.
Well, look, A.J. Brown wanted to be traded. He wanted to be traded last season. He wanted to be traded in the offseason. He finally got his wish. Even if Jalen Hurts wanted to stay, I don't know that it would have happened because that's not what he wanted. It's not what A.J. Brown wanted. Everybody wanted to chart their own path and go their own direction. Everybody got what they wanted, and now we get to see how it works out.
All right, so as we move forward here, let's drill down on this Eagles offense. They did get some good news with Devontae Smith returning to practice, Adam, earlier this week from the hamstring injury. I know that Malachi
Lemon's back today.
Lemon back today. What's the latest? Like, what are you hearing about the pieces in this offense and the health as it stands right now?
Courtney, we are Thursday, August 20th. The regular season is coming up here quick. And that is why Devontae Smith is now back at practice, and that is why they are bringing Mekhi Lemon back today. Obviously, they feel like they're healthy enough, but it's time to start ramping up. You're starting to see teams sign veteran players. You see Vita Vea's contract get done in Tampa. You're seeing moves made because players now